I was born and raised in rural Flora, Mississippi, the only son of middle-class farmers, Matilda and Lee Johnson. We had more than most around us. We had a television, plenty of food, and a nice home on 50 acres. I have to credit any maturity and ability to visualize the bigger picture with the way I was raised. Positive stuff, not negative stuff. Train a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart. What really motivated me to move into the military arena is this young man who had grown up in the same area that I lived in. He had gone into the Air Force. He was probably 4 to 5 years older than I was at the time, so I got a chance to see this young person and this blue jacket. I would really love to have that jacket. I think it was called a B-15 jacket. It was one particular conversation I had with my math teacher, Mr. McMillan, that really set things up for me to find my way to greater things and get a few steps closer to the world represented by that blue jacket. I will always be thankful to Mr. McMillan for suggesting I get out. So I ended up going into the Air Force, based on seeing this young man that I had been part of the military and this authority figure man enforcing that I should consider another option for my life. I went on a Friday. I think I caught the bus from Flora to Jackson. I went through and took all the tests that you had to take, and the next thing I knew, I was on my way to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas with some knowledge about how things worked in the South to put in my personal toolbox for use at a later time. Despite the fact that I had left my birthplace in Flora, I still didn't forget my mom and dad. Each month, I sent funds directly to them from my pay. With the support I was able to provide, they were able to move to Jackson, Mississippi, where they bought a nice home in a pleasant neighborhood where they did all the things people are supposed to do. From where I stood in the Air Force, my witness and experience was somewhat different. We had military personnel of all colors, only we were not promoted the same. I would eventually see some of that change during my service, but on the home front, very little changed. It was an observation that eventually bolstered the lessons I had learned from the older gentlemen I kept company with. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. As with any military career, I started with basic training in March of 1954. For a young man straight out of southern Mississippi, basic training dished up several lessons in reality. Of course, I received training for my place in the Air Force. That was expected. Service in the military would end up rewarding me with so much more. Additionally, life outside of Flora also served to show me that the circumstances my math teacher had alluded to with regard to growing civil rights unrest was very real. Korea was a place of most significant personal change for me. Growing up in the Deep South, I had thought I had seen hunger, abuses, mistreatments, and suffering. Perspective is a humbling experience, and until now, I had been riding the wave of my own accomplishments, not fully understanding humility. To say I was truly humbled is an understatement. It was at Osan Air Force Base that I would be able to use my toolbox to save my government more than $1.2 million. It was also at Osan Air Force Base, in our spare time, that some of my fellow airmen and I would spend time in the company of the children doing little more than surviving day to day at an orphanage. I had experienced some of that growing up. We taught lessons in English to the children, but what was most remarkable was their hunger for human interaction. It made me think, for the first time, about the power of speaking to another human being. I know that when I am promoted to heaven, it will not be on the works that I have done, but on the walk that I have made as a believer.